How's it going, everyone? It's Ben Falcons Media Corner back again with a brand new video for today. Welcome back to another movie review, aka After I Saw. This time for this new episode for this series is going to be my review on the 2024 action thriller, and that is The Beekeeper. Now, this is directed by David Ayer, director of films such as End of Watch, Fury, and 2016 Suicide Squad, amongst other films he has done. And in this film, we follow this man named Mr. Clay, played by Jason Statham, in which he works as a beekeeper for his neighbor. But what ends up happening to his neighbor is that she dies. And what ends up happening later on in the movie is that we learn about Mr. Clay's past, in which it turns out to be that he was a former operative. And so we see him coming out of retirement, and we see him going up against a bunch of bad guys who have stolen his neighbor's identity as well as her money from her bank accounts. And so we see that happening, as well as we see him going up against a bunch of other bad guys who are also after him. So that's pretty much the story of The Beekeeper. Now, I was looking forward to this movie since this was a new action film with Jason Statham, and when it comes to him in any action film he takes part in, he always tends to be, really fun and likable, as well as a badass when we see him kicking a bunch of bad guys' asses in any action film he appears in and all that. Although, in recent years, for some of the action films he has done in recent years, he hasn't had the best track record or anything like that, but still though, I was pretty intrigued to see what he was going to do with this new action film here. And when it comes to David Ayer as a filmmaker, I think he's a talented filmmaker. I do think he's a talented writer. He has written some really good works in the past before, like he did Training Day and the first Fast and Furious movie. And when it comes to him as a director, I think he's a talented director behind the camera. He has made some really well-made films, like he did End of Watch and Fury, which both of those films I thought were great. Although when it comes to his 2016 version of Suicide Squad, that film nowadays does tend to get a lot of mixed opinions on, because a lot of people are very mixed with that film and all that. But for me personally, I think that film's a mixed bag for me, because there are some stuff I do like in that film, but there certainly are problems with that film and all that. But still, though, I was pretty intrigued to see what he was going to do with this new action film with Jason Statham and all that. And this film came out on January 12th, which it came out last Friday. And I didn't see this film on opening day because I wanted to see some other things that this film came out along with other films and all that. But I saw this film just a couple of days after it came out, which I saw this on a Tuesday and all that. And I saw this in a pretty small screening with a good amount of people in it. And after watching this whole movie here, I can definitely tell you guys that I had a pretty good, buzzing time here with The Beekeeper here. Although I wouldn't necessarily say this film is perfect or anything like that, but this still is a pretty good, solid action film here. And I can also say as well, it's definitely one of Jason Statham's better action films he has done in recent years here as well. Of course, when it comes to Jason Statham's performance in the film here, of course, he is really fun and likable here in this film as the lead protagonist. And when it comes to him in the action scenes, of course, he's a lot of fun here when we get to see him kick a bunch of bad guys' asses along the way and all that. And as the action scenes, they feel so high energetic here in terms of its direction here by David Ayer, which I thought he did a really good job directing this film here, because the action scenes, of course, are really violent, but they are really over the top here. And I really enjoyed some of those moments here and there and all that. And as for the other actors who are in the film here, you've got Josh Hutcherson, who plays one of the villains in the film here. He is really fun and entertaining as this despicable character here. And you've got Jeremy Irons in the film as well, which I also thought he was really good. And you've got Emmy Raver-Lampman, who plays this character who works for the police. She was also pretty solid in the film here as well. And as for everyone else who were in the film here, they were pretty solid and pretty fun in the movie here. And as for the whole premise of this film here, it is really ridiculous about a beekeeper who turns out to be a former operative coming out of retirement to go up against a bunch of bad guys and all that who have stolen some identities as well as money from innocent people and all that. But still though, it is pretty fun though, mostly due to Jason Statham kicking a bunch of asses and all that. But as for its overall story, it isn't too bad here, even though it does have some familiar essence from some the old action films that came out either from the 80s or 90s and all that, because this film does have a few throwback calls to some those kind of films and all that. But still, the story isn't too bad here. And as the script for the film, it is really cheesy for having some logic gaps, as well as a few B puns there in the film here, which when it came to those moments, they are kind of fun. They are pretty funny, but they are very cheesy here. And as the pacing, the first act of the film was really fast here. Although the second act I kind of felt was a bit slow. When we cut to a scene that has no Jason Statham kicking asses and all that, those scenes do tend to come off a bit too slow and all that, but it does manage to pick itself up to get to any fun moment in the film and all that. And as like the third act, the final act of the film, I kind of felt was a bit anticlimactic and all that. But in the end, guys, The Beekeeper, I overall had a pretty good, buzzing time here with this new Jason Statham action movie. Yeah, and if you're a fan of Jason Statham, or you're a fan of like the director David Ayer or anything like that, I could definitely say this would definitely be a good popcorn treat for yourselves. Yes, so that's pretty much all I have to say about The Beekeeper. I'm going to give The Beekeeper 3.5 out of 5. Yeah, like I said, this movie was overall pretty flawed here, but like I said, I still managed to find myself having a pretty good, buzzing time here with this new Jason Statham action movie here. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching for my AK After I Saw review on The Beekeeper, and let me know what you think of this movie if you have seen this already, or if you just recently check this out. Did you have a blast with this, or was this not really a popcorn treat? As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and this has been Fogan's Media Corner signing off.